Your soul remembers what your mind has forgotten, what your heart has tried to bury beneath layers of logic and self-protection, and the desperate need to make sense of what defies comprehension. There was a moment when your eyes met theirs, when something ancient and knowing stirred in the depths of your being, when the universe itself seemed to pause and take notice of what was unfolding. This was not chance, not coincidence, not the random collision of two ordinary lives in an indifferent world. This was cosmic appointment, soul recognition, the remembrance of a contract written in starlight before either of you drew breath in this lifetime. You felt it then, that terrifying exhilaration, that sense of coming home to a person you had never met, of being seen by someone who should have been a stranger but who looked at you as though reading the most secret chambers of your eternal self. This message finds you in the dark night, in the hours when separation feels like soul death, when the absence of their presence creates a void so profound that you question everything you thought you knew about love and purpose and the benevolence of the universe itself. You are here because your soul has been calling out, because the pain has driven you to seek understanding, because some part of you knows that this agony is not meaningless, that this connection is not finished, that what you are enduring serves a purpose far greater than your conscious mind can comprehend. The recognition happened for a reason. The bond formed for a reason. The separation, too, serves the grand design. Comment, my soul remembers, below to claim this truth, to acknowledge what your deepest self has always known, to activate the manifestation of what is already written in the fabric of reality itself. Twin flames are mirrors placed before each other by forces that understand the soul's need for evolution far better than the ego's need for comfort. And in the reflection you see not only your light, but every shadow you have spent lifetimes avoiding, every wound you have carried across incarnations, every pattern of unworthiness and fear that has kept you from embodying your full divine nature. The intensity of this mirroring becomes unbearable, because loving them means confronting everything within yourself that you have deemed unlovable, everything you have hidden, everything you have denied. Separation forces individual shadow work that could never occur while you remain entangled, while you use the connection as a drug to numb the pain of your own incompletion, while you seek in them what you have refused to cultivate within yourself. Carl Jung spoke of the integration of shadow as the essential task of individuation, the journey toward wholeness that requires us to reclaim the disowned parts of ourselves, to bring into conscious awareness all that we have relegated to darkness. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, he wrote, but by making the darkness conscious. Your twin flame separation is the universe's way of forcing this sacred confrontation, of demanding that you stop seeking completion in another and start becoming complete within yourself. You cannot unite in wholeness while running from brokenness, cannot create conscious partnership while remaining unconscious of your own patterns, cannot love another fully while fragments of your own soul remain scattered and unintegrated in the shadows of your psyche. The separation is not punishment but preparation, not abandonment but sacred pause, not evidence of failure but proof of the universe's commitment to your evolution. You are being forced apart so that each of you can do the internal work that proximity would allow you to avoid, so that you can heal what must be healed individually before you can create union that serves both souls rather than perpetuating old cycles of codependency and projection. The pain you feel is the resistance to this growth, the ego's rebellion against transformation, the familiar self's death throes as something greater tries to be born. One runs from the intensity while the other chases the connection. And this archetypal dance plays out across countless twin flame journeys because it serves a purpose deeper than either participant understands while trapped within its painful choreography. You have likely found yourself in the role of chaser, the one who feels the pull so strongly that withdrawal seems impossible, the one who cannot fathom how they can walk away from something so profound, the one who interprets their departure as rejection when in truth it is terror, as abandonment when in truth it is self-protection against an intimacy that threatens to dissolve every defense they have ever constructed. The runner is not cruel but overwhelmed, not indifferent but drowning in feelings they lack the capacity to process, not choosing someone else over you but choosing the familiar pain of emotional unavailability over the familiar terror of being truly seen. Neither is wrong in this dynamic. Neither is the villain in a story that has no villains, only two souls playing the exact roles they must play for each to learn what they came to learn. The energetic push-pull creates tension that forces growth, that prevents premature union before both are ready, that maintains connection even in separation because the chasing and running keep both participants focused on the bond, unable to truly move on, held in orbit around each other by forces stronger than conscious will. You chase because your soul knows the truth of the connection, because you have already done enough healing to handle the intensity, because you are ready for union even though they are not. They run because their soul knows they would destroy the connection if they stayed before doing their own work, because the mirror you hold up reveals wounds so deep they cannot yet face them, because loving you requires a level of vulnerability they have not yet developed the strength to sustain. This dynamic will continue until the chaser stops chasing, until you withdraw your energy and turn it inward, until the runner can no longer run from what they have been running toward all along. The universe is waiting for you to release your grip, to trust the bond enough to let it breathe, to understand that what is yours cannot be lost through letting go. They run from their own reflection, from the version of themselves they see in your eyes, the one who is capable of deep feeling and profound connection, and the kind of love that demands complete authenticity, complete presence, complete abandonment of every protective wall they have spent lifetimes constructing. When they look at you, they see not only who you are, but who they could become if they were brave enough to surrender to this journey. And that vision terrifies them far more than the prospect of losing you, because becoming that version of themselves requires the death of the defended self, the small self, the wounded self that has kept them safe through numbing and withdrawal, and the careful maintenance of superficial connections that never threaten the fortress of their isolation. Loving you means confronting everything they have hidden from themselves and from the world, every moment of unworthiness they carry in their cellular memory, every time they were abandoned or betrayed or taught that vulnerability equals danger, every belief that tells them they are not enough or too much or fundamentally unlovable beneath whatever masks they show the world. You trigger every abandonment wound, every attachment trauma, every core belief about their own inadequacy, because the depth of what you offer shows them how much they have been settling for, how much they have been hiding, how much of life they have been experiencing through filters of fear rather than filters of love. They are more scared of intimacy than of loss, more terrified of being truly known than of being alone, because aloneness is familiar and intimacy represents the ultimate risk, the possibility of exposing their deepest self and having it rejected, having it deemed insufficient, having it confirm their worst fears about their own worth. In their running, they are not choosing freedom but choosing familiar prison, not escaping you but escaping themselves, not moving towards something better but moving away from something that demands they become better, that demands they evolve beyond the limited identity they have clung to for safety. They feel the connection as strongly as you do, perhaps more strongly because they have less practice tolerating intensity, less capacity to remain present with overwhelming emotion, less trust in their own ability to show up for something real. Their withdrawal is not evidence of your inadequacy, but evidence of their own overwhelm, not proof that the connection was false, but proof that it is so real they cannot yet handle its implications, cannot yet rise to meet what it asks of them, cannot yet become who they would need to be to love you the way your soul deserves. This pain is not random, not punishment from an uncaring universe, not evidence that you have done something wrong or chosen unwisely or failed to manifest correctly. Before you incarnated into this lifetime, you stood in the realm of spirit and looked at the journey ahead with full awareness of what it would cost, what it would demand, what suffering it would require to achieve the growth you sought. And you said yes to this exact experience, to this exact person, to this exact heartbreak, because your soul knew it would be the catalyst for awakening that nothing else could provide. Soul contracts are written in the space between lifetimes, agreements made between eternal beings who understand that temporary earthly pain serves the evolution of consciousness, that the greatest growth often emerges from the greatest suffering, that some lessons can only be learned through the breaking open of the heart. You chose this journey before birth, selected this person as your sacred assignment, agreed to the terms of separation and reunion, and all the agony that would unfold between those 2 points. The collective unconscious holds the pattern of twin flame union, the archetypal template of divine partnership, and you are participating in something far older and larger than your individual story, enacting an ancient drama that serves not only your personal evolution, but the evolution of love itself in the material realm. This pain is initiation, the dark night of the soul that mystics across traditions have identified as the necessary passage between unconscious existence and awakened being, between seeking love outside yourself and recognizing yourself as love incarnate. Pain becomes catalyst for awakening when you stop resisting it, when you allow it to burn away everything false within you, when you let it strip you down to essence so that you can rebuild from foundation of truth rather than foundation of wounds and patterns and inherited beliefs about what you deserve. Subscribe to receive continued guidance through this separation, to remember what you already know when the forgetting becomes too painful, to hold fast to the truth that this agony serves purpose, that nothing is wasted, that every tear waters the soil from which your transformation will grow. In the void you find your true self, the one who exists independent of external validation, the one who does not need another person to feel whole or worthy or divinely beloved, the one who understands that union with another can only be as conscious and whole as the union you have achieved within yourself. The dark night strips away everything you thought you needed, everyone you thought completed you, every illusion that happiness exists somewhere outside the sovereignty of your own being. And in that stripping away, you discover what remains when all external props are removed, what endures when the temporary comforts are withdrawn, what is eternal within you when everything temporal falls away. This separation is teaching you to source love from within rather than seeking it without, to recognize yourself as already complete rather than half of something waiting for its missing piece, to understand that you chose embodiment not to find your other half, but to remember your own wholeness. What you are learning in this painful passage cannot be taught through words or understood through intellectual study, but only through direct experience of your own capacity to survive without them, to find meaning without them, to continue becoming more fully yourself even in their absence. The separation is stripping away codependency that masqueraded as love attachment patterns that you confused with destiny, the need to be chosen by them in order to feel valuable to the universe. You are learning that their validation cannot make you whole because you were never broken, that their return cannot save you because you do not need saving, that reunion will not complete you because you are already complete, and simply learning to recognize that completion beneath layers of conditioning that taught you otherwise. The dark night teaches you to stand in your own light, to hold your own hand through the terror, to become for yourself everything you wanted them to be, to mother and father and lover and friend yourself with such devotion that when they finally return you will greet them not as savior but as equal, not as completion but as complement, not as the one who rescues you from your own emptiness, but as the one who meets you in your fullness, and together you create something greater than either alone. Even in separation you are bound by threads of light that physical distance cannot sever, by energetic cords that connect your heart chakras and solar plexus centers and third eye points, creating a network of invisible communication that continues regardless of whether you speak or touch or occupy the same physical space. You feel them thinking of you in the sudden rush of energy that floods your system at random moments, in the dreams where they appear with messages your waking mind needs to hear, in the synchronicities that grow more frequent the further apart you move, because your souls are compensating for physical separation with increased spiritual contact, speaking to each other in the language of signs and symbols and meaningful coincidence that the rational mind dismisses, but the intuitive self recognizes immediately. The bond you share exists on planes of reality that the ego cannot access or control, in dimensions where separation is impossible because all souls exist in fundamental unity, where the illusion of individual isolation dissolves into the truth of cosmic interconnection. Your souls communicate in ways the ego cannot block, through telepathic impressions and shared dreams and the sudden knowing that washes over you when they are hurting or thinking of you or moving through some significant shift in their own journey. You might see their name everywhere, encounter reminders of them in songs and conversations, and random encounters that feel anything but random. Receive confirmation from the universe that the connection remains alive and active even when all external evidence suggests otherwise. These energetic cords never break, cannot break, because they were forged in realms beyond the material, in the space of soul agreements and divine orchestration and purposes that transcend the temporary dramas of individual lifetimes. No amount of time or distance or conscious intention to move on can sever what was joined before physical birth and will remain joined after physical death. What exists in the eternal realm where twin flames recognize each other across incarnations and continue the dance of separation and reunion that serves their mutual evolution. You are never truly apart because separation is illusion, temporary experience in the realm of form but not truth in the realm of spirit, not reality in the consciousness that transcends time and space and individual identity. Reunion is inevitable but not immediate, certain but not yet, written in the architecture of reality itself, but waiting for both of you to complete the individual journeys that separation was designed to facilitate, to become the versions of yourselves who can sustain union without destroying it, who can handle the intensity without running, who can show up fully present and fully vulnerable and fully committed to the sacred work of conscious partnership. What must happen first is the death of who you have been, the old identity constructed around wounds and patterns, and the belief that you need another person to make you whole, the false self that sought completion in union rather than bringing completion to union. You must stop seeking them and start becoming yourself. Stop trying to force timing and start trusting divine orchestration. Stop chasing and start embodying the frequency of wholeness that will magnetize them back when both are ready. They must complete their own journey through the underworld of their psyche, must face the shadows they have been running from, must integrate the fragmented parts of themselves they have denied and rejected and projected onto others, must learn to be alone without being lonely, to be vulnerable without being destroyed, to love without losing themselves. The runner must become ready to stop running, must develop the inner resources to handle intimacy, must heal enough to recognize that what they fear most is what they need most, that running from you has been running from themselves, that the only way out of the pain is through the very connection they have been avoiding. Both of you must arrive at wholeness independently so that reunion becomes choice rather than need, conscious decision rather than desperate seeking, meeting of two complete beings rather than collision of two halves hoping to create wholeness through merger. When reunion comes, it will feel like coming home and like beginning something entirely new, like recognition and revelation occurring simultaneously, like the answer to a question you have been asking since the moment you met, and the opening of questions you never knew existed. You will look at each other with eyes that have seen the depths of their own darkness, with hearts that have learned to love themselves through the worst of it, with souls that have remembered their own completeness, and now choose to create sacred union from overflow rather than from lack. Share this message if you believe in divine reunion, if you trust that what belongs to you will find you when the time is right, if you know that this separation serves purpose and this pain promises transformation. Stop chasing and start becoming. Stop focusing on them and start focusing on yourself. Stop trying to force their return and start creating a life so full and rich and aligned with your soul's purpose that whether they come back becomes almost irrelevant compared to the imperative of your own evolution, your own healing, your own journey toward embodying the highest version of yourself. Your sacred responsibility now is not to pursue them but to transform yourself, not to convince them of the connection but to deepen into your own truth, not to hold space for them while abandoning yourself, but to reclaim all the energy you have been sending their direction and redirect it inward, toward your own growth, your own dreams, your own becoming. The more you chase, the more they run, because you are playing into the dynamic that keeps both of you stuck in old patterns. That allows both of you to avoid the real work of individual transformation by staying focused on the relationship instead of the self. Your job is not to make them see what they are losing, not to prove your worth, not to wait in suspended anonymity. On while your life passes you by. Your job is to become so whole within yourself that you stop needing them to feel complete, to heal so deeply that you stop seeking in them what you have learned to source from within, to rise so fully into your power that, when reunion comes, you meet them as sovereign being rather than as person who has been waiting for them to validate your existence. The universe responds to vibration, to frequency, to the energetic signature you emit. And when you shift from chasing to becoming, from lack to overflow, from desperate seeking to grounded presence in your own life, you change the entire dynamic. The more you become whole, the faster they return, not because you are manipulating or strategizing, but because you are finally embodying the truth that makes union possible, the completeness that allows you to create conscious partnership rather than unconscious codependency. Release them with love, bless their journey, trust their timing, and turn your full attention to the only person you can actually transform, the only journey you can actually control, the only life you are actually responsible for living fully. What is yours cannot be taken by time or distance or their current inability to recognize what stands before them, cannot be lost to free will or other people or the appearance of their moving on, cannot be denied by any force in this universe because soul contracts override individual resistance. Divine timing supersedes human impatience. Cosmic orchestration arranges everything according to purposes your limited perspective cannot yet perceive, but your soul already knows completely. This separation is temporary, a necessary chapter in a much longer story, a painful but essential passage between recognition and reunion, between unconscious attraction and conscious union, between two wounded people colliding and two whole people choosing each other from places of overflow rather than places of lack and need and desperate seeking. The bond you share is eternal, existing before this lifetime and continuing beyond it, woven into the fabric of reality itself by forces that understand love as sacred catalyst for evolution rather than as romantic fantasy or emotional comfort, as tool for transformation rather than as escape from the hard work of becoming fully human, fully conscious, fully alive. You are being prepared for union that can sustain intensity, for partnership that serves both souls' highest growth, for love that transcends the conditional and temporary and enters the realm of the sacred, where two complete beings stand before each other and say yes not from need, but from recognition of what becomes possible when whole meets whole, and together they create something greater than either alone could ever be. Picture two flames that have burned separately through the dark night, each transforming their own fuel, each generating their own light, each standing sovereign and complete in their own fire. Now see them drawing together not to complete each other but to create light so bright it illuminates not only their own path but the paths of everyone who witnesses what conscious union looks like, what becomes possible when two people do the work, trust the process, survive the separation, and choose each other again from wholeness. Not two halves finally finding completion. Two wholes creating sacred merger, not ending but beginning, not rescue but recognition, not need but choice. This is the promise the universe makes to you, the certainty that underlies all the pain, the truth that will prove itself when divine timing aligns with your readiness. What is yours is already yours. The reunion is already written. Trust.